Throughout the centuries, many people believed that kings and queens were sent by God to rule over different lands and countries. Because of this, they were considered untouchable, and many believed that their actions were linked to religion and God. But there was a strange thing that royalty did in history, and it was something that was actually very dangerous. People would flock to palaces to be touched by the king and queen, with the hope of them being cured from illness and disease. This was known as the king's touch, but this was done to people who were often suffering with Scrofula, or the king's evil. But the disease would rarely result in death, and often cured itself, giving the idea that the monarchy had cured the condition, meaning they had the reputation of being legitimate healers or godly beings. Of course, there was no knowledge of what caused disease, but the royal touch was a strange thing. Join us as we look at this, and to support our channel, please make sure to subscribe. Kings and queens of England and the kings of France were said to have been the Christian rulers who claimed to have divine gifts of curing the disease by touching them. Saint Edward the Confessor, the Anglo-Saxon king, was said to have been the first monarch to have this power, and the French traced their monarchy's divine gifts back to around the same time. They said the first English monarch to claim the ability to heal the sick was Henry I, but in France it was claimed that the first king who cured the king's evil dated back to the 5th century. The king's evil as a disease itself is swelling of the lymph glands, and it was a skin disease which was of course believed to have been cured by the touch of a monarch. It was in a sense a bacterial disease, and that someone who was suffering from this could pass this on through their breath, as it was tuberculosis. It was known as a number of other names too, including the White Plague, and the captain of all other men of death, and also consumption. The symptoms of this were chills, sweats and fevers, and sores appeared on the neck. Infected sores would grow and they would stick with the patient for some time, but it was of course deadly, and it would lead to at times death, but it was often said to have been an acute or chronic condition, and not fatal, and it would go down and then enter remission. In England, Henry I's successors did not believe that the royal touch was a huge thing, and they did not do this too much. As mentioned, coins would be given to the diseased, and they were referred to as an angel which hung around their neck. These were known as touch pieces, and were considered very lucky. But Henry VII, the first Tudor monarch, brought a ritual and structure to the royal touch. First, the monarch would touch and stroke the neck and face of the infected person, and they then placed a coin around the person's neck. After, passages from the Gospels were read, linking it to religion, and finally prayers were offered and were said to have cured the person. It was also used to cure many other conditions such as rheumatism, fevers and blindness, and much else. Elizabeth I would, when she performed the royal touch, trace the sign of the cross above the infected person's head, and James I would not touch him, and he would just wave his hands over the infected. Henry VII touched 7 or 8 people a year, and Henry VIII, it's recorded, did this to 59 people during January 1530 and December 1532. Edward VI did not perform the ritual, but Mary I, who was also known as Bloody Mary, took this role very seriously. Elizabeth I was hesitant to do it, as she did not believe too much in it. Charles I, during his reign, had to contend with the demand from the public being very high, and in one day he touched 100 people who were suffering. Charles II, following the restoration of the monarchy, would touch thousands, and it's believed that 92,000 scrofulous people were touched by Charles II, around 4,500 each year, as he believed he was a healer. But further Stuart kings and queens would also do this. The royal touch was not the only healing power attributed to kings and queens of Europe. The medieval Castile monarchs were said to have been able to exorcise demons, and the Hungarian monarchs were alleged to have been able to cure jaundice. But as time went on, different kings and queens would claim that they could cure illness and disease through simply just touching someone. It was due to the link they believed they had to Christ curing the sick, but different monarchs would doubt their ability. Despite the population thinking they were divine beings, the monarchs thought otherwise. It was of course very dangerous, and could have been very detrimental to the health of a king or a queen. Thanks for watching. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe, and once again, thank you so much for watching.